I mean this in the nicest way possible. You should care about your environment. This is I Mean This in the Nicest Way Possible, and I'm your host, Richard Armand Mills. This episode is not about buying expensive furniture, becoming a minimalist, or suddenly knowing the difference between Buchel and Chanel. It's about something much simpler and much deeper. Your environment is not neutral. The space you wake up in, move through, sit inside, and return to at the end of the day is constantly talking to your nervous system. It's either supporting you or slowly draining you. And for a long time, I didn't want to admit that mine was draining me. I've lived in the same house for about 20 years. And if I'm being honest, I've put more thought into my outfits, my projects, my work, and my public-facing identity more than I've ever put into the space I actually live in. Meanwhile, I watch friends curate their home with care. Every detail chosen for comfort, organization, and delight. And I totally feel left out. Big time. Not because I want their aesthetic, but because I want that feeling. The feeling of walking into a space that reflects who you are. The feeling of ease instead of friction. The feeling that your surroundings are on your side. Your environment is where your habits form. It's where your stress either settles or gets soothed. It's where your brain decides whether it's safe to rest, create, focus, or shut down. And when your space is chaotic, neglected, or purely functional with no care behind it, your body feels that, even if your mind has learned to ignore it. This episode is about reclaiming your space as an act of self-respect. Not perfection, not performance, but care. And this applies whether you control an entire house, a bedroom, a desk, or just the inside of your car. Your environment is any space you repeatedly exist inside. And when you start to care about it, even in small ways, it starts caring about you back. Let's talk about why that matters. According to research on the psychology of home decor, highlighted by the University of Texas, physical surroundings act as a constant sensory input to the brain. Lighting, layout, color, and visual order all influence stress levels, emotional regulation, and cognitive load, often without conscious awareness. In other words, your brain is responding to your space long before you formed a thought about it. A cluttered or chaotic environment doesn't just look messy. It quietly keeps your nervous system in a low-grade state of alert. This is where microstressors matter. Poor lighting, no clear place to set things down, constantly searching for keys, chargers, or paperwork. These aren't dramatic problems, but they stack. Each small friction point adds another demand on your attention and energy. Over time, that background strain shows up as irritability, fatigue, and mental fog, even if nothing is wrong in your life. As Apartment Therapy's breakdown of environmental psychology explains, people don't experience rooms passively. We experience them through function, flow, and emotional cues. When a space lacks intention, the brain compensates by staying slightly vigilant, scanning, adjusting, and correcting. That effort pulls energy away from rest, creativity, and focus. Home is supposed to be where your system downshifts. But for many people, home has become the place where stress quietly accumulates. Not because of major issues, but because the space itself offers no relief. This reframes the conversation entirely. Caring about your environment isn't aesthetic indulgence. It's nervous system hygiene. Personalizing your space isn't about aesthetics for aesthetics' sake. It's about reinforcing who you are and who you're becoming on a daily, subconscious level. According to the Aggies reporting on self-expression through room decoration, the way people personalize their environments directly mirrors identity development. Objects, colors, textures, and layouts act as cues that tell the brain, this is mine, this is safe, and this reflects me. That sense of ownership and self-recognition increases emotional comfort and psychological stability, especially during periods of stress or transition. A happy home isn't defined by trends or price tags. It's defined by how quickly your nervous system settles once you enter it. When a space reflects your taste, your memories, and your priorities, it becomes an extension of your inner world, not a place you're merely passing through. That alignment creates ease. You move differently. You rest more fully. You're less mentally braced. Research summarized by Lifehacker on personality reflective decor reinforces this idea. People feel more grounded and confident in environments that visibly align with their identity. Even small touches like photos, meaningful objects, and preferred colors can strengthen feelings of belonging and self-trust. This is especially important for adults who spend much of their time adapting to external expectations. Work, social roles, and responsibilities constantly ask for adjustment. A personalized space offers the opposite, a place where no performance is required. That's why personalization isn't vanity, it's identity maintenance. When people think about improving their environment, they often think it requires a full redesign. In reality, a few foundational elements have an outsized impact on how a space feels and how it functions. Light, nature, and order aren't aesthetic trends. They're biological and psychological levers. Light comes first. According to research summarized by the University of Texas at Austin, lighting significantly affects mood, alertness, and emotional regulation. Natural light, in particular, supports circadian rhythms that influence sleep, quality, focus, and stress levels. Poor lighting, like harsh overhead bulbs, dark corners, or inconsistent illumination, subtly taxes the nervous system, keeping the body in a state of low-grade strain. Even small adjustments like opening blinds, repositioning lamps, or using warmer bulbs in the evening can shift how safe and settled a space feels. Next comes nature. Natural elements act as emotional regulators. According to Apartment Therapy, incorporating plants, natural fibers, wood, stone, or organic textures helps people experience rooms as calmer and more restorative. These elements cue familiarity and grounding, a sense of refuge rather than stimulation. Even minimal exposure to greenery or natural materials has been linked to reduced stress responses and improved concentration, which explains why sterile or overly synthetic spaces often feel draining over time. Order is the quiet multiplier. Order isn't about perfection or aesthetic minimalism. It's about function. When surfaces are cluttered and systems don't exist, the brain stays in constant problem-solving mode. According to Big Think, personalized and well-organized environments reduce cognitive load, allowing mental energy to be used for creativity, focus, and follow-through, instead of making constant micro-decisions. Functional order creates ease, knowing where things go, moving through space without friction, and not negotiating chaos before you even start your day. You don't need to address all three at once. Improving even one can meaningfully change how it feels to exist in your environment and how much energy you have left when the day ends. Feng Shui is often dismissed as mystical or impractical, but at its core, it's a system about how people move through space and how space, in turn, affects the body and mind. Stripped of superstition, Feng Shui becomes a framework for flow. According to National Geographic, Feng Shui is rooted in the idea of harmony between individuals and their environment, emphasizing balance, clear pathways, and the unobstructed movement of energy. In modern times, that means spaces designed for ease, visibility, and intuitive use rather than interruption or congestion. When movement through a space is blocked, physically or visually, the nervous system perceives it as resistance. Flow begins at the entryway. A cluttered entrance signals stress before the day even starts, while a clear one communicates arrival and grounding. Furniture that forces constant detours or tight navigation keeps the body in a subtle state of alertness. Feng Shui's insistence on open circulation is less about symbolism and more about letting the body move without negotiating obstacles. The concept of the commanding position offers another practical insight. According to Forbes, Feng Shui principles often recommend positioning beds and desks so that you can see the door without being directly in line with it. Psychologically, this creates a sense of safety and control. You're oriented, aware, and not startled by unexpected movement. When applied thoughtfully, this can improve rest, focus, and a sense of stability. One of Feng Shui's most overlooked principles is stagnation. Areas that accumulate clutter, under beds, unused corners, or overfilled drawers, tend to hold unresolved energy simply because they're avoided. These zones quietly reinforce avoidance, both physically and emotionally. Clearing them isn't symbolic. It removes low-level stressors that keep the brain on edge. Viewed this way, Feng Shui isn't about luck or aesthetics. It's about designing environments that allow you to move, rest, and think with less resistance. When space flows, the body follows. Lenny Kravitz is a useful example because his approach to interior design mirrors his approach to music. Layered, intentional, and emotionally driven. According to the New York Times, when Kravitz began designing interiors, including a Nolita apartment building, he treated space the same way he treats sound, focusing on mood, texture, history, and how a person feels inside the environment, rather than how it photographs. What stands out most is that Kravitz doesn't see design as a separate discipline. For him, style isn't fragmented. Fashion, music, architecture, and interiors all speak the same language. They're expressions of identity. According to The Hollywood Reporter, his personal residences and commissioned spaces are built around warmth, nostalgia, and lived-in sensuality. Space is meant to be experienced, not just admired. This matters because it reframes the idea that caring about your environment is superficial. Kravitz's homes are not sterile or trend-driven. They're deeply personal. They reflect his love of vintage pieces, cultural history, and tactile richness. The takeaway isn't design like Lenny Kravitz. It's that your space is allowed to carry your taste, your story, and your emotional temperature. Another important point is accessibility. Kravitz often emphasizes that intentionality matters more than budget. A room becomes expressive not because it's expensive, but because it's cohesive. Lighting is warm on purpose. Objects are chosen, not accumulated. Negative space is respected. The environment tells a story, and that story feels human. What listeners can borrow from this is permission. Permission to stop designing spaces that feel like placeholders. Permission to move away from environments that feel like waiting rooms. Permission to let home be an extension of self rather than an afterthought. When design is treated like an art form, even at a small scale, it stops being about decoration and starts being about alignment. Your environment becomes another way of saying, this is who I am, this is how I live, and this is what supports me. I'm not coming to you with a finished product. I'm coming to you as someone who finally decided to care. For a long time, I told myself my environment didn't matter that much. I lived in the same house for 20 years and treated it like a neutral container. Somewhere I slept, worked, and passed through, but not something I actively shaped. Meanwhile, I poured intention into everything else. I curated my looks. I built brands. I obsessed over projects, tone, messaging, and aesthetics that lived outside my home. I knew how I wanted to feel in the world, but I wasn't designing the place I returned to every day to support that feeling. The truth is, I left my daily environment on autopilot. There was a quiet sting in that realization. Watching friends create spaces that felt intentional, calming, and reflective of who they were, and noticing that my own space felt more like good enough than chosen. Not bad, not broken, just default. And over time, default became draining. What finally shifted wasn't a desire for perfection or a sudden interest in interior design. It was self-respect. The same instinct that says your clothes should fit your body and your life should support your nervous system eventually applies to your space too. Your home isn't just where you live. It's what your brain is marinating in. It's the backdrop of your mornings, the container for your stress, the place your body tries to recover. I realized I'd been asking my mind to be focused, creative, and regulated while surrounding it with friction. Visual clutter, no clear systems, no sense of intention. I had been curating outward expression while neglecting inward support. So why now? Because I've reached a point where alignment matters more than output. I don't want to build a future from a space that doesn't reflect who I am becoming. I don't want to keep treating my environment like an afterthought while expecting myself to feel grounded, rested, and inspired. This isn't about catching up to anyone else. It's about finally applying the same care inward that I've always applied outward. I'm not doing this because I've mastered it. I'm doing it because I'm done pretending it doesn't matter. The first thing that actually moved the needle was claiming one's own. Change doesn't start with an overhaul. It starts with ownership. The most effective shift comes from picking the smallest area you can fully control. A desk, a nightstand, a car console, or one shelf even. And deciding that this zone will no longer be neglected. This isn't about aesthetics first. It's about function and care existing together. The surface should make sense for how you actually live. The items there should earn their place. Nothing random. Nothing apologetic. When one zone works, your brain notices. It experiences relief, completion, support. That single pocket of order becomes proof that your environment can work for you instead of against you. And once one zone feels good, it quietly raises your standards for the rest. The second thing is making friction illegal. Most daily stress isn't dramatic. It's logistical. It's the missing charger, the keys that vanish every morning, the wallet shuffle, the constant micro searches that keep your nervous system in low-level problem-solving mode. Those moments seem small, but stacked together, they drain energy fast. The fix is unglamorous, but powerful. Create landing zones. Keys always land here, wallets live there, and chargers stay plugged in where you actually sit. This isn't about discipline. It's about removing unnecessary decisions. When friction disappears, follow-through improves automatically. Your space starts keeping promises to you, instead of quietly breaking them every day. A home that works doesn't demand attention. It gives it back. And the third shift, and maybe the most important, is designing for who you're becoming. The most common decorating mistake isn't bad taste. It's outdated identity. Many spaces are frozen reflections of a past self or fantasies of a distant future. Old habits, old phases, or a version of life that doesn't exist yet. But your environment should support the next 30 days, not who you were 5 years ago or who you think you're supposed to be eventually, especially if that's not financially feasible right now. Design for sleep if rest is the priority. Design for focus if clarity is the goal. Design for creativity if expression is what you're calling in. Designed for peace if your nervous system needs a break. This doesn't require money. It requires honesty. When your space reflects who you're becoming, not who you were, it stops feeling like a placeholder. It becomes an active partner in your life. And slowly, without force, your environment starts pulling you forward instead of holding you in place. This episode isn't about perfection. It's about participation. And that includes me too. Caring about your environment isn't something you decide once and magically maintain forever. It's a practice. A small, repeatable choice you make again and again, especially when your space has been on autopilot for years. And especially when you've gotten comfortable with fine, even though fine quietly drains you. So here's the invitation. And it's one I'm actively taking on alongside you. The Your Environment Matters Challenge is simple by design. Choose one micro area. Not your whole room, not your entire house. One contained space you interact with regularly. It could be a drawer, a surface, a corner, a nightstand, a desk, even the passenger seat of your car. Somewhere small enough that resistance doesn't win. Set aside 30 minutes. That's it. During those 30 minutes, do 3 things. Remove what doesn't belong, clean the space fully, and add one intentional touch. That touch doesn't need to be expensive or dramatic. It might be a candle, a framed photo, a plant, a tray, a small stack of books, a warmer light bulb. Anything that signals care instead of neglect, or intention instead of default. The goal here is not aesthetic perfection. The goal is alignment. And when you're done, pause and ask one honest question. Does this space feel like it supports me or drains me? That question matters more than the object you added. Because what you're really checking for is how your body responds when you exist in that space. Does it feel calmer, clearer, easier to move through, or does it still carry low-grade stress? This challenge is intentionally small because momentum comes from completion, not overwhelm. One zone done well changes how it feels to live inside your own environment. And once you feel that shift, it becomes much harder to ignore the spaces that still feel chaotic, heavy, or forgotten. Repeat this challenge once a week. Same rules every time. One micro area, 30 minutes. No pressure to do more than your nervous system can handle. Small zone by small zone, you build a space that stops draining you and starts giving something back. Caring about your environment is caring about your mind. Your space isn't passive. It's quietly shaping how you feel, how you think, how you recover, and how you show up every single day. And for a long time, it's easy to tell yourself that this doesn't matter, that your space is good enough, that you'll care about it later. But later rarely comes on its own. Care is something you practice, not something you stumble into. I'm doing this with you. Not above you, not ahead of you, but alongside you. That's what this is really about. Showing up differently in real life. Not just in theory, not just in mindset, but in the places where your body actually exists. And your home is ground zero for that shift, where your habits are reinforced, where your nervous system resets, and where you either feel supported or quietly depleted. You don't need a perfect space. You need a space that respects you back. And that starts small. One corner, one drawer, one intentional choice that says, I care about how it feels to be me here. Because the kindest thing you can do is be real. Real about what drains you. Real about what supports you. And real about what deserves your care. including the environment you live in every day. I'm Ram, and thanks for getting real with me today. You just finished listening to I Mean This in the Nicest Way Possible, written and produced by Richard Armand Mills.